I'm Dana and I'm a late diagnosed autistic person, and I think that one of the main struggles that I had and that I see a lot of other people having after finding out you're autistic is not knowing how to accommodate to yourself, not knowing what you're supposed to do to make your life easier, knowing that you have a diagnosable reason to be having all these struggles and all these difficulties, and not having anything given to you or like offered as support to help you to actually get over those things and be able to struggle less and have less difficulties. And it doesn't feel like it should be that hard, but for the most part we've spent our entire lives trying our best to act like we're just like everybody else, and all of a sudden we know we're not just like everybody else, but we don't know what we're supposed to do. So I have got 4 years now, I think 5 years. I've got a good little while under my belt of trying to make my life easier, trying to make my life more pleasant, just generally trying to make things a little bit nicer and easier, because I was really struggling. So I thought today it would be nice to share some of the things that I've come up with as ways to accommodate myself. Some of them are big, some of them are small, just a whole little array of things that you can hopefully use yourself and then like use as examples to further accommodate other places that you struggle with specifically. Because as always, all autistic people are different, and not every bit of advice or thing I say that's a little bit relatable will relate to everyone. Not everyone will find these things useful. It really annoys me that I have to say it in every video, honestly, but if I don't, I always end up with the people commenting like, well, I'm autistic and I don't care what you do. These videos are about me and my experience, but I am trying to be useful to other people in the community every now and again, and this is one of those. So the first thing that I want to talk about, and one that I saw come up on TikTok as an ADHD thing and not exclusively autistic, is keeping everything in its place. And I don't just mean like being tidy and organised in my house. I mean when I go outside, when I leave my safe space in house, I know my wallet is in my left pocket, my keys and my phone are in my right pocket. Sometimes I wear my other jacket and then the wallet goes in the chest pocket, and I put everything in places where I can like feel it hitting me as I'm walking along, because I get really anxious that I'm going to lose something, that I'm going to forget something, that I won't have the things that I need when I leave the house. So at all times, I know that I can just pat a place and feel that it's there if I can't just feel that it's there anyway. And as much as I said I don't mean in my house, I do. I know where my passport is, I know where my like earphones are, I know where all of my things are, because they all have the place that I put them and that's where they go. So I very much know like if I've lost something, if someone's stolen something, whatever goes on with my belongings, I absolutely know, because I, to a point, honestly kind of obsess over it. I get very anxious when I don't know where my things are, and especially when it's things that I leave the house with or bring in and out and I could lose them. I like to know exactly where they are. So everything has a place that like makes sense to me. It's the place that I will always check. I know where my stuff is, and that just really lowers my anxiety and makes it a lot easier for me to actually function and do things. Next might be somewhat specific to me, but I don't allow myself any kind of guilt around food. I find it so hard to go out and buy food, to then actually prepare food, to decide what I'm going to eat, to decide what I'm going to buy. Everything around food and eating is something that I find difficult, and some degree of that is from a disordered eating past, but a lot of it, like the vast majority of it, is just being an autistic person. I don't know what's going to be the right thing to eat. I don't know what I'm going to be able to eat a lot of the time. So I very much go for like the kid thing that people do of fed is best. It doesn't matter what I'm eating. It doesn't matter how I'm eating it. If I'm eating, then we're good. I don't allow any guilt around any of it. I don't, like, I've had people that have pointed out like, oh, you order takeout a lot, don't you? And I'm like, shh. You don't get to. I'm not feeling guilty about it, because that might be the only reason I've eaten that day. It might be the only reason I eat the next day as well. I find it very hard to eat. I find it hard to decide on food. I find it hard to get the food in. If I'm ordering takeout a lot, that is my business, and I don't feel bad about it. And it's taken some work, and it can be very difficult, and especially when like I can't always afford to order takeout. Sometimes I do have to go out and do a shop and stuff, but I won't be ashamed of, like, I won't feel any guilt, any like, oh no, I shouldn't do that, I should eat better, all of that kind of stuff. I will go and get a microwave meal, I will go and get an oven pizza, you know, like if I can't afford takeout, I will just allow myself to go for the next easiest option and not feel any guilt, not feel any shame, not feel bad about myself. I've eaten, and that's a good thing. Obviously, I'm aware that for some people that is not the case, and that's not how your food issues work. again, this is about me and my experiences. I'm sorry, I don't have advice for experiences that I haven't been through. The next one's a little weirder, but I have a very carefully curated wardrobe where everything is a sensory pleasant thing, apart from some of my pants. Some of my pants like dig in a funny way and aren't perfect, and I do need to like sort of upgrade the pants that I own. But for the most part, like, I'm someone who doesn't have an awful lot of money and also doesn't like fast fashion, and like when I go through the effort of finding an item of clothing that is sensory friendly and fits well and makes me feel good and I think it looks nice, I don't want it to fall apart in 3 weeks, so I don't shop fast fashion. So it's taken me a little while, but I have managed to curate this like thrifted, secondhand, largely vintage, very like good quality clothing that feels right and feels nice, and I like the way it looks, and it's a sensory pleasant experience for me to get dressed, you know? Because one of the big things that I didn't think about was that I would have so many days that I would like sob and be like genuinely like, oh my god, it was meltdowns. I haven't placed that before. I thought my mum put such a thing of me like being the annoying teen girl that just has a breakdown because I have nothing to wear even though I have so many clothes. I was having full-on meltdowns while getting dressed in the morning because I'd put things on that I wanted to wear. Like, I'd be like thinking about my outfit the night before or whatever, and I'd be like, that's what I want to wear. And then when I actually put it on, I would be like, I feel so disgusting and wrong. And it wasn't even that like I thought I looked bad, it wasn't I thought I looked disgusting, I just wanted to tear it off, and it felt wrong and it made me want to crawl out of my skin because it wasn't the right sensory thing, and I just didn't have like the knowledge of that being a thing at the time. But now that I do, I have carefully curated my wardrobe to all be very comfortable, all feel light. Like, the only t-shirt I have that gives me that kind of feeling is my Meep t-shirt because it's a medium women's cut, which I don't understand why it's so much smaller than men's medium, but whatever, you know, like, it's Doctor Who, I'm not gonna not wear it. But it isn't a very nice sensory experience, whereas everything else is, and that means that whatever I put on, I'm comfortable. I don't have meltdowns or breakdowns or whatever else there might have been while I'm getting dressed anymore. I just get dressed and I'm like, oh yeah, nice. You know, I've completely eliminated a whole part of what was once part of like my every single day routine by just having clothes I like that are comfortable. And I do need to do a bit of culling because now that I've like thought about it, I have jumpers that I don't wear anymore because I don't like the way the necks feel, because my sensory issues around clothes do change, and it's a very, very slow change. But like, I had a point where I could not wear anything but skinny jeans because like having the feeling of like lots of extra fabric around my legs and like air around my legs, it all just felt really weird. I couldn't wear anything that wasn't like skinny jeans or leggings, but I can wear loose pants now and it feels fine. So like, my sensory issues around clothing does change, but I am able to sort of keep up with it and adjust to it and make sure that my wardrobe remains a place where it all makes me feel good and it doesn't inspire a daily fucking meltdown. I have also gotten some headphones, like actual noise cancelling, like stereotypical autism headphones, and it's one of those things that I put off for a long time because I just didn't think I liked noise cancelling. I've tried noise cancelling headphones before that made my ears feel like they were like under pressure or something. Like, the ones I'd tried I really didn't enjoy. But I got a JBL pair and I've recently been going out wearing those along with my flares like underneath, because the flares are like in here and then the headphones go over, and the difference it has made to the way that I feel when I'm just out and about in the streets. Oh, it's beautiful, guys. I heavily recommend it, because usually I can still hear a good bit through the headphones. I don't have like the best noise cancelling headphones in the world, like they do the job, but they're not, I can still hear like street noise and people talking around me and things like that, you know? So having the flare to also like take the edge off the noise that I can hear, oh, it's just so nice. It's so beautiful. Like the first time I did it, I stepped outside and I just like felt my nervous system relax because it didn't all sound horrible and it didn't all make me want to like cringe in on myself. It makes such a difference that I would not have expected. Like, the thing with being like a high masking person is that it's so hard to like figure out what the sensory issue is, because I've just been ignoring everything for years, and you know, no wonder that like everything was so difficult and everything felt so wrong when I was just having to pretend it was all fine when a lot of stuff really isn't. So I have made a whole video about like the auditory sensory accommodations that I make for myself. I don't know why that was so difficult to get out, but I've made a whole video about that I'll link here. I think this is the right side. It'll be linked about somewhere because it is a whole video talking about that if that's something that you want to hear more about. I don't want to spend ages on it in this video, But it's the moments like that, like where I've put so much time and effort into figuring out ways to accommodate myself and trying to figure out what my issues are and what my sensory issues are, and it's really, really difficult a lot of the time, and it's a lot of time and effort that we expend on it. So having the moments where I'm like, oh, I've put this and this together and thought about this, and I think this thing's going to help me if I accommodate myself this way, this might make a thing easier. And then having it actually make it easier just makes so much feel so worth it. And it's also the thing of like having a tool for the future. Like I don't have to go through the way that I feel while out and about ever again because I have my noise cancelling headphones now. Like it just makes everything easier. And especially like when I'm having that much of a reaction from like a reasonably cheap, like low quality pair, imagine when I have money one day in the far distant future and can get myself a really good pair. Like I have one friend who has a pair that you put your hand like over it and it takes the noise cancelling off so you can speak to people. I would kill for that. That is incredible, because one of my big things is that I haven't been wearing them into like drinking venues, food places. Like I feel very nervous wearing them in places where I'm going to speak to some people or maybe spoken to. So having the ability to just like turn it off without having to take them off would be amazing. But I'm not there yet. I don't have that cash. Now this final one is the one that I know is like least within most people's reach, but I'm also going to say it just in case you haven't thought about it more than anything. There's a lot of accommodations people have suggested to me where they're like, I know this is probably the first thing you tried, and I'm like, no it isn't, that's an absolute genius idea, I never would have thought of that. So my last one is that I have an extremely low demand lifestyle. Like I've maybe I'm still slightly in, but I feel like I've just had a very small period of burnout purely because I was helping my friend move house, and they were very casual and kind of like treated it the way that a friend should, you know. But there's been more of a demand on me to help than there usually would be, and I offered, like I'm happy to do it, but it's taken me from having like no actual demands within my life to having demands, and that's been really weird for me because I have very much gotten my life into a place where like no one asks me to do anything, no one tells me what to do. My life is very much like I wake up and decide what I'm doing with the day. I decide if I'm going to see a friend today, you know. And as much as I am always happy to help friends, obviously, this has been the best thing that I've ever done for myself. And I'll give that this is another place where I think that my history of living with an abusive ex and having a lot of trauma and generally like having spent the last year like healing and refinding myself and having a lot of the abuse related stuff, you know. I don't think it is entirely that I'm autistic, but I also do think that most autistic people probably can't keep up with the speed and demand of the life that most people in society now live. I don't think it's a natural way that most people are living, quite frankly. We're all working too much, we're all trying too hard, we've all got these fucking side, I say we all, I've just explained how I don't, but you know what I mean. Like the general expected lifestyle, whatever you want to call it, like the general day-to-day life of most people is way too high demand, just in general, just as people, never mind as autistic people, and especially like late diagnosed autistic people that have most probably been through some sort of trauma and are now having to get to grips with the fact that we have this whole diagnosis and there is something going on like we thought, and it's not that you're just a little anxious or just a little depressed, you know. Like there's already so much going on for everybody that it feels like a very difficult and very hard to navigate thing to actually accommodate to autistic people within those lives that we're living, if that makes sense. There were so many words that I just like spewed out then, but I think you get what I mean. Like today I got up and I posted a TikTok and did like my house chores, my little productive morning routine, and I just went on like an impromptu like 2-hour walk around the park and was like, oh look, there's bamboo in a park in Liverpool, isn't that mad? You know, like it's a very, very low demand life, and I know that a lot of people aren't in a position to be able to do that. I know a lot of people have to go to work or have to look after kids or have to look after other family members or whatever else. I'm aware that most people can't just be like, you know what, I've had enough, no demands for me. But reducing the ones that you can, getting other people to take over, asking people for support, I think are all ways that you can accommodate yourself to have just overall a generally nicer, easier life and maybe not end up going into burnout so often and all of that. I do kind of think that autistic burnout is sort of inevitable personally at this point. I think that I am always going to end up coming back around to like bouts of it, but I do also think I'm dealing with it much better being aware that it's autistic burnout and not being like, why am I suddenly depressed? What is wrong with my brain chemistry? Like, I can put together all the things that have happened so far to lead to the autistic burnout, you know? And they're not all sad things, like when I was like looking for the reasons behind my depression, but that's me moving on to a different video topic for some reason. So I'm going to round it off there. Those are some of the ways that I accommodate to myself in my life. If you want to comment with ways that you accommodate to yourself, any of these that you found useful that you might input into your lives, I love reading comments. I love getting comments. It feels like we have a real little community going on that's sort of like separate from the overall autistic community, which kind of scares me a lot of the time. Like, a lot of those guys are a bit rabid, let's face it. Some of them are fucking terrifying and they won't accept anyone else's opinion. It's a whole thing. But I like that I feel like we've got a little place here where people can share their opinions and have them be respected, even if people disagree. I really like having like the discussion there so that I can be helped to form opinions. I find it very hard to form opinions, and I feel like I do need to hear opinions from lots of different people to actually couple bits together to form my own. So it's very useful to me for that, and I feel like it'll be useful to others. It's just nice to have, okay? So I post here on Tuesdays, Thursdays and Sundays at the minute. That's what we're trying out for January, and it's happening so far, is it not? So if you want to hang around and subscribe and like this video and whatever else, that'd be really cool. I post daily over on TikTok if you want lots more content of me. It's TikToks, it's very short videos. You're not stuck watching me all day every day, don't worry. I also occasionally post over on Instagram. I posted a little picture today from my walk in the park that I mentioned, so if you want to see like some random little snippets of my life, you can go there. And then I also have X, formerly the app formerly known as Twitter, I suppose, where I just occasionally post some TV related stuff. That's where I just nerd out every now and again. And that's all for the free cool social platforms that you should follow me on. Please do. If you want to for some reason donate money to me, I'm always like, so strange, like I put so much time and effort into this content. I completely understand why people would want to pay me. I'm sorry, it's true. I put so much time into this, guys. I put so much effort in. I think about you guys all the time, but I'm not trying to guilt you, I swear. I don't know why I started guilting you. I really care about this content, guys. And I'm happy for it to be free. I think most people need it to be free. I know I wouldn't get to see anything if it weren't free. But YouTube should pay me is always the point, okay? You guys shouldn't have to. But if you do want to, if you do think it'd be nice to give me some money, you can do that over on Patreon by becoming a Patreon and getting videos early. I post every video over there before it posts on YouTube. I actually have. Some of them are like later than others, but they are all before the YouTube one. And you can also go over to me on Ko-fi if you'd like to just donate me a one-time thing and not pay me each month. Whatever you want to do is very, very fine by me, and you don't have to donate anything at all. The content should be free, but creators should also be paid for it from the content streams that are making money from us posting here. I don't know why my outro has been so long, and I'm sorry. Whoever you are, wherever you are, I hope you're having a lovely morning, evening, day, afternoon, week, month, year, and I'll see you again in a couple of days.